Hello everyone, and welcome to the CSS Level 1 assessment. For this assessment, you will be given an HTML file that's actually already filled out with content. It will be your task to edit an additional CSS file to make the HTML look like the solution CSS version. So there's going to be 3 files you need to actually complete this. You're going to need to grab from the CSS Level 1 folder these 3 files right here: the Level 1 Assessment CSS, Level 1 Assessment HTML, and then the Test Solution CSS file. Let's explore the assessment and explain how these 3 files are going to work. Alright, so here I have my editor open as well as my browser, and I've downloaded the 3 files I need: the assessment.css file, the assessment HTML file, and then the solutions.css file. So if I open up those files and take a look at first the HTML file, so CSS Level 1 assessment.html, this is basically the HTML file that we're going to be working with CSS. So for this test, you're actually not going to be editing any HTML, but instead you're going to be editing a CSS file that's linked to this HTML. So what we can do right now is just comment out with Control or Command / any link to the CSS, refresh this assessment test, and this is what it looks like at first. It says, "Welcome to the free blog. Thanks so much for visiting the site. What is this site for?" etc. And you see there's a link here that takes you to Google. We can expand this text area. Please log in and save your post, etc. Questions or comments, send feedback here. All right, so we see we have a very basic HTML site. If we undo the link to the solutions.css and then refresh this, we can see that there's a ton of styling here. So we've given stuff borders, stuff background, changed the font color, changed some borders down here, etc. So this website is not meant to look better. In fact, I would say it looks worse than it did without the CSS, but it's meant for you to practice various aspects of CSS that we learned in Level 1. So what you will end up doing is, once you've opened up this HTML file, you're going to change the reference apart from the solutions back to your assessment. So you say CSS Level 1 test or Level 1, and you will then make sure it matches the CSS file you're going to be filling out, which is CSS Level 1 assessment. Save that, refresh this, and right now it's blank. So now if we go to this file, CSS Level 1 assessment.css, we click on it, and we notice here that we actually have a bunch of comments in it. And basically for this test, what you're going to be doing is just doing the tasks here. So for instance, it says give the body element of the site a light blue background using a hex code. So remember, just to do this first task to kind of walk you through what the assessment will be like, you'll follow along. So it says give the body element. Okay, so I know I want to grab the body and give it a light blue background. So I'll say something like background color, and if I wanted it to be dark blue or just a normal blue, I would say something like this: blue. If I refresh this now, everything is blue. But what you'll have to do when you start this task is use a hex code to do this. So it wants to be a light blue background color using a hex code. And don't worry about any particular shade of light blue. It's really up to you. And then you have task 2, change H1 to have a 1 pixel solid black border, etc. So you can see here, you're going to be editing this CSS little by little until it essentially matches what looks like the solutions. Okay, and at the very end, there's a bonus challenge, and there's a link to Google here that will say a little hint to the challenge, but don't worry about it too much. Basically, just complete tasks 1 through 9. And in the next lecture, we're actually going to be coding through the solution. So again, you're just working with the CSS file here that's connected to the assessment. And if you ever need a refresher on what the final product essentially looks like, reconnect this HTML file to the solutions. What I don't want you to do is just immediately open this solution CSS file. Don't do that until you've given your best shot to the assessment test. All right. Thanks everyone, and I will see you at the next lecture.